Did you watch the NATO follies this morning? When, oh my Christ, when Trump gave his little press briefing? I'll tell you, the world looks at this asshole for exactly what it is. The world knows. It's and most Americans know what a jerk-off he is. And it wasn't just Trump standing there talking about his grievances, how much ABC and CBS and CNN and MSDNC are a bunch of fake news organizations, and they're just so mean to him. But there Orange Face stood, and it was really amazing to see on a couple of surfacey levels. To his right and his left stood the two assholes who now run the State Department and the Defense Department, the drunk and the little cowboy who thinks he knows something. I'm talking about Marco Polo Rubio. But what stuck out most to me, because nothing that the toilet rat was saying was anything we haven't heard before. And we here in America understand, those of us who have maintained our faculties, understand that nothing comes out of Trump's mouth that is truthful. Nothing, not a goddamn syllable comes out of his mouth that is truthful. So anyway, while he's blathering on about his happy horse shit and being an arrogant prick that he is, to his left and to his right stood these two zombies, Marco Polo and the drunk. And the thing that got to me, and I realized that, you know, my observations of anything Trump does is no longer about the substance of what he's saying, because he's a fucking liar and an asshole and a grifter and a convicted felon and on and on and on. But the thing that got to me was the difference in the coloring of these three white men. To his left and to his right were, well, you know, what you accept as, well, that's a white man. But in the middle stood Trump. Orange face. He looks like a fucking jack-o'-lantern, doesn't he? Oh, my God, that orange face. And every time he got his hands up near his face and you could see his little white hands, white hands. Oh, well, it was disgusting. And then when he took took questions from members of the media and had to get his punchy little bullshit statements in about fake news and so on and so forth. I'm going to get to the fake news in a moment. The fake news he's talking about is a report that came from the Defense Intelligence Agency, which is part of the United States Defense Department. You know, that organization run by the drunk woman beater, Pete Asshole Hegseth, right? But the initial report came from the Defense Intelligence Agency, and then it was reported by the New York Times. So Trump, of course, calls them the failing New York Times. What a fucking jerkwad this guy is. Oh, my God. I don't want to talk about him so much. It just makes my stomach hurt, as Charlie Brown used to say. Just his standing there in front of the International Press Corps, with his two zombies to his left and his right, it's just, I don't know. I don't know how to describe that. I guess it's the old line, you had to have been there in order to really appreciate it. You probably saw some of this morning. MSNBC carried it. That's the only network I watch anymore. I'm sick of hearing or seeing or learning that this little fucking idiot, Sean Hannity, who used to live here in Atlanta when we were both on competing radio stations, that Sean Hannity is one of Trump's closest advisors where it concerns foreign policy. Sean Hannity is, well, ignorant, a dumb fuck. That's all I can say. I know this guy, and he hasn't changed in the 30 years or whatever it's been since he went to work for Rupert Murdoch. But I digress. A preliminary classified U.S. report is what drove Trump crazy. The fact that it was either purposely handed off to media or it was leaked. The report says the American bombing of those 3 nuclear sites in Iran set back Iran's nuclear program by only a few months. What did the toilet rat say on Saturday night? Oh, my God, he just couldn't stop blathering and blittering and running his fucking mouth about it being totally obliterated. I wonder if somebody told him what that word means. Probably not. But, it had more than 3 syllables, so to Trump it was a very important word. obliterated. Well, anyway, that report said that, and again, it's from the Defense Intelligence Agency. The report said that the strikes had sealed off the entrances to two of the facilities that were struck at Fordo, which I guess is the major site. There were three: Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan. But the Fordo facility had its entrances sealed off, but it did not collapse the underground buildings. Now, how Defense Intelligence Agency gets this information so quickly is for you and I to speculate. I have no idea. But the toilet rat did say something that I'm sure the Israeli intelligence organizations did not appreciate this morning, local time here. It was afternoon, of course, at the NATO meeting. But when Trump said that there are people on the ground who have taken note of the damage and are reporting out to the Western world, that would be United States and Israel as far as Trump is concerned, and the only people who could possibly be on the ground to report to the Defense Intelligence Agency or the Israeli organizations are Israeli agents. Now, I doubt seriously if the war criminal Netanyahu was very happy to hear that the toilet rat stand there shooting off his fucking mouth about, well, we have observers on the ground who report. Oh, I can just see the Israeli intelligence agency just squeezing themselves silent, not wanting to say anything about this crazy fucker. But I digress. Before this attack, and what was it called? Midnight Terror or something? I don't even know. But before that attack, U.S. intelligence agencies had said that if Iran tried to rush to making a bomb, it would take about 3 months to do that. And after the bombing and the days of attacks by the Israelis, that report from the DIA estimated that the program had been delayed, but by less than 6 months. Now, of course, that just sent the toilet rat right over the top of his crawl space when he heard that. Like, oh no, he's a war president. He deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. He stopped nuclear war between, who was it he said this morning, Bosnia and Serbia? What the fuck is that about? And Pakistan and India and Congo and some other country in Africa, right? I mean, he is such a peacemaker, isn't he? Oh, Donnie, oh, you fucking moron. He believes he's doing this stuff. And the rest of the world, I guess, except for the MAGA backward hat wearing assholes in this country, the rest of the world is going, what in the fuck is this jerk off talking about? But, it seems like the world has come to just accept the fact the United States is going down the toilet as long as this toilet rat is leading us. And I think the hope for most of the world is the same hope that I have, and perhaps you have too, that this son of a bitch will disappear sooner rather than later. My preference would be that he choked to death on a big chunk of bacon that gets stuck in his esophagus, his windpipe. That would be a glorious day, well, for me. And the report from the DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, and keep in mind, this is part of the Defense Department run by the drunk. That report also said that much of Iran's stockpile of enriched uranium, which is necessary to start generating whatever it is they want to generate, including the construction of nuclear weapons, if that's what they want. But that stockpile of enriched uranium was moved out of these underground sites before this bullshit occurred, the bullshit being what came out of Trump's mouth. Now, I'm not saying that the raid didn't occur. Of course it occurred. But according to Trump, there were 50 tankers in the air, 50 refueling tankers, or did he say 60? This fucking guy, like I said, it's very comical in a sick, twisted, perverted kind of way, but it's still comical. So the report said that the uranium, enriched uranium, had been moved before the strikes, and it's also been reported by, I think, the IAEA, International Agency for International Atomic Energy Agency, that enriched uranium, especially that which was held and still is held by Iran, is kept in cylinders about the size of your water container that you go when you go for a long walk. Enriched uranium, uranium itself is a very heavy metal. And enriched uranium, I don't know, what the fuck do I know, but it's supposed to be very heavy. So they're not going to have great big blocks of it like what would fit in the back of a Toyota pickup truck. No. It's going to be in smaller containers. But anyway, it was all moved before, because Trump was telegraphing to anyone who was paying attention, we're going to beat the fuck out of Iran. It's coming. He can't keep his pie hole shut. And some Israeli officials said they also believe that the Iranian government had maintained small, covert enrichment facilities, other places, so it could continue the nuclear program in the event of an attack, such as the one that occurred last Saturday. Now, the toilet rat knows nothing about this, and Hegseth, that dumb son of a bitch, alcoholic freak, he doesn't know anything about it. If he's told about it, it just slides out of his brain on a flood of alcohol. But the Iranians were ready. They knew what was going to come. They knew. I mean, Jesus Christ, what do you need to be told when your country sustains 10 days of bombing by the Israeli Air Force? And you know that in the background is this orange-faced monkey who has to jump on board along with Netanyahu, who just dog-walked him into this whole thing. And Trump is just waiting to jump on board so he can say, well, I did this and I did that, and our great big bombs and Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. You know, the Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.